Mr. and Mrs. Prodi, that it's an honor to be here and to face you. So great personality, and I'm sorry that that is not respond of your value to all this what we want to transfer to the public of Macedonian intellectual people in the primary. Mr. Conrad, thank you that I'm very thankful to see you again, and each discussion with you is another challenge for me, and I deeply respect your big experience in, and I'm very happy to see you. So I want to give just a short overview and probably to explain why I'm here all these 19 years. I came here before 19 years in center of the Balkan, and the Balkan countries probably in the past was a lot of history and a lot of civilization, but in the last centuries there was historically many wars and many divided processes which were destructive, and processes which lead to depression. Depression of the people is the last depression. First is economic and so on, and in the end is depression of the people. And we faced on the old Balkan countries, there is big depression. They don't need or they don't want to see the beauties around. They don't want to see, they cannot recognize the values of the other people around. So they see something else, somewhere else in Europe as some goal and seal to go there and to start new life there. And my message was and is that we can build our Europe here in our country, and that was all these 19 years what I have tried to do. But back to what is the lecture. In our history, in all this region here, which Balkan is named with many states now, but before 1600 years BC exist surgery, exist doctors, and exist needles, and exist sewing materials for the wounds, and even the great King Philip II was wounded in the leg and survived, and he was treated also by very well known doctors. In 9th century is known that St. Naum in Ohrid was the first neuropsychiatric and pain clinic, and in 13th century it was another church in Ohrid, which was the first isolation of the soldiers when they were back from other countries. Then they were kept there for a while to see if they are sick from bringing illness from the east countries or the places where they were. Now to time there is a well-known established politic that everything has to be better for the citizens, to establish good medicine, but also medicine became influenced from big business and big companies. So that is what in this moment is facing medicine in developed countries. But in Balkan is everything a little bit different still now. There's a lot of changing in economical part, but still medical part or medical system is not changed. There is big influence of the central politics in all Balkan countries. Each country has one so-called government insurance, which is not insurance like is known in Europe, because this insurance is covered, is monopoly and covered all expenses for patients, and is directly controlled by politics. In the last period, in only few countries in Balkan, there exists private practice, but the majority of the countries and they are in public property. So the relation is well known, big tenders, big game in money, big companies, and certainly in between also is rising of corruption and possibilities for earning and getting position and money on this way. Macedonia, in all surrounding countries, in last years became pretty leader in private practice and private health system, and it is. I am glad to say that I contributed to this. So this this system certainly cannot produce generally on the Balkan good medical care because of many things which are established. One is that the staff is not well selected, not well educated, not well paid. Otherwise, equipment is not good to maintain. Always is partially equipped, and maintenance is very problematic, and everything connected with activities which rise to some corruption scandals is system which doesn't upset the problems of the patient, that they are more upset with everything what is going in between. Certainly, we know in Europe it's already done that the necessary to change the society is to allow to big insurance companies to attract or to approach the broad number of patients, which each state of the Balkan will support these activities, and insurance companies in real contact with hospitals, with providers of services, to create contracts which are useful for patients and useful for all citizens. Health organization is well established, but that is by the law, and all these organizations are functioning with permission of Ministry of Health. And as a founder, always is problematic when the founder is private or recently our government started to speak about private-public cooperation. We will see what will be. But in all Balkan region, when it's public property, that is no problem for functioning even in not regular way. But when it's private property, then certainly each of these organizations are faced with many regulatives and many problems which probably doesn't need to exist. So the structure is the same, but the only ownership makes different approaches and make different problems additionally. I would like just to point that even in depression, I was always optimist, and even in the worst depression scenario, I try to stay again optimistic. And still, after 19 years, I am still optimist, and I'm doing my way in this. When I was first time in military hospital, these pictures was shown to me where they could rent me a place from about 600 square meters to start to build cardiosurgery in Macedonia. In that time, doesn't exist. And that was military hospital. And I have to say that even that I am uncured optimist, after this, when I saw these pictures, I was in depression. 3 days.
3 days.
And after 3 days, I said, I will do it. And so after only 6 months, that was the first 2000 in March, 1st of March 2000, was the first operation in these places. That was 1 OR and 12 intensive care, 12 beds at all. But that was the first patient, after that the first women, and what was most important, that many missed that to recognize, that was first private clinic dealing with very heavy patients, very sick patients, but also I succeed on the first of the beginning to introduce DRG system. DRG system was something that nobody knows in that time, that the service have to be paid by each service done by each patient. And DRG means diagnosed related groups. That means that one payment was related to many similar diagnoses and treatments for the patient. And just for a relation, in that time, DRG system was functioning in US, in Australia, in few countries, and in Germany doesn't exist. In Germany start 2003. So we were pretty advanced in that time. I introduced starting with the first patient, who is indeed still alive, with first patient and first operation, we show through all publicity modern technology, and we show different approach to the patient. And certainly that initiate additional response, even negative response, the most from my colleagues, but that was somehow to understand. And also that start a new educational process, because the many young doctors, many nurses, and all other stuff in the previously doesn't have any possibility, or even when they have some possibility, they have to go abroad and to work there and to be educated there. But to be educated here and to see another approach of medicine, that was first time. Certainly there was also many other situations where many attacks I have to explain why and so on. There was many regulations, additional, how patient to approach us. So there was many obstacles, but we follow our goals that the patient is the first, and we faced very sick patient, very huge population on the patients who are undertreated or not good treated in the past, and they need very different operations. And so we work certainly hard and start to respond of the needs. Also, not only surgery, we introduce a lot of bright spectrum of other techniques to treat the patient properly in different situations, with kidney insufficiency, with sepsis, with shock situations, with many additional situations and illness which in the past were not treated at all. And also as additional procedures, because one patient when is sick, he is not only sick because of the heart, but when heart is sick, then that transfers to other organs, and usually the patients are multi-organ patients, multi-organ failures. 2009 we introduced first time again in the region new technology of diagnostic, multi-slice scan, where we show that the patient can be diagnosed with even the very severe diseases in one day, and to get proper recommendation. All these activities was always with many colleagues from abroad, from Switzerland, from Italy, from Russia, from Germany certainly, even from Greece, from other countries. And we follow always to be focused on the medicine, always to go on the way and to keep our main goal, that is patient. Patient is who are our seal to not to lose and not to make other activities and to forget why we're here. We published our work. We try to present to the world that also in Macedonia start something, and we are doing something properly. Certainly, this was also published in many of journals, and also I'm glad to succeed through all these activities to publish my book and to finalize, or somehow to finalize my daily work. And I have, these pictures are also something like for me interesting to see my wish to go further, even over the borders. That was the first patient in the world, which was presented in San Francisco 2003 as a bypass surgery in a wake situation when a patient is not intubated and patient stand from the operating table and walk to the intensive care. So that was one of the contribution that we want to say that bypass surgery, which was recent, even now, the patients are treated with deep narcosis, deep anesthesia. They are for hours and even days lying, and we want to show that not only surgery can help and also harm a little bit the patient or cause the complications, but also anesthesia is very important to be approached in different way, and that was awarded, and that was big recognition in that time. Also, we show to the world that even with anti-regulation, even with a lot of obstacles about transplantation of the organs, because immediately when they heard about the private practice, then transplantation is something wrong, something not allowed for the private. And even we have a law that was prohibited to do transplantation in private hospitals. I and my colleague here sitting in the second row succeed to demolish this stupid regulation that we by the law are the same. And even this I want to show that for some patients which are very sick and need transplantation, it's possible to do approach with autotransplantation, to remove own heart, to reconstruct and to reimplant again. So certainly that was still not regulated, and we still don't have permission to do transplantation, but we are fighting further. That was a new approach of the valve. That's some of comments of the editors when we publish some of the in very well-known journals. Parallel to our activities, we start also not only with adult surgery, we start with pediatric surgery. We introduce also very innovative in that time. Now to time is routine procedures, interventional procedures for the children, and there was many different obstacles in this in pediatric cardiosurgery, and recently, maybe you know that we get again permission to do more pediatric surgery, and a part of the team from health, from public sector will move to our team, and we will make from 2012. Then additionally we start with building and creating a new center. 2016 was the opening ceremony, which was really one of the greatest days of my life, because even as a big optimist in many of my days in these years, I didn't believe that I will succeed. to to make open ceremony, but yeah, God helps me. We introduced then again the last technology in a new hospital. We start with new approaches again with implantation of the big stents in aorta and to avoid big operations. We start with introducing and putting genetic labo and genetical examination in use of daily practice, which is pretty unique in Europe, that the patient who are coming for daily diagnostic and treatments, they can be also treated by genetical examination, and with this we can treat them better, even know that they are respond or not respond of some medicaments, and to improve the treatment of this patient dramatically, without increasing the cost of treatments that much, so or lowering the pricing of the patient that they could pay this. Yeah, that was one of issues about auto-transplantation recently. All these years we have to deal with patient with dilative cardiomyopathy and very sick patient. Recently we have done so-called artificial heart for patient who was very sick, and indeed we cannot help him with any other procedures except to implant artificial heart, and this artificial heart support his life, and that is pretty young patient, is about 56 years old, and that was recently before the end of last year, and I am happy that all, because that is very challenged the procedure with many problems which can occur, and the patient is now at home and is living on batteries now. So, as I said, many of education, what we have done in the previous, many of the private hospitals, most of the staff worked with us, so even now we are so-called concurrents, but many of the staff are educated by me and by my staff. But we are doing also further education for nurses, for doctors, for young doctors. Recently we have big school for young nurses and young doctors, because they are coming from universities or from school with a very big lack of practice experience, and so we need to teach them, to make them suitable for our system. 2017 we succeed to get also JCI accreditation, which was one of the, for me personally, the biggest recognition of our work, and we are continuously trying to improve our processes and to improve processes of safety of the patients and processes of safety of intra-hospital infection. So I hope that contribution to this society in Macedonia, and hopefully opposite contribution of the European society to Macedonian society will enhance and improve these processes in medical regulations, because what I believe is not only that good life standard ensured medicine. Medicine for me is valley of life. And I can tell you just a simple story. The value of life of the Balkans is directly depend with the medicine or level of the medicine. And when I start here in Macedonia, the family, when they come and the patient have to be operated on the heart, and the family asked me, "Oh, doctor, should we do this operation? He is pretty old, he is 65 years. Recently, we operated 92 years old patient, and I said to him, and there's a rest of family, that okay, the age is pretty advanced, but they said, he wants to live, and please do this operation." So I'm very happy that in this period is tremendous changing in acceptance of life, because only before not longer than 20 years, 65 years old was very old guy who have to die because he's heart sick patient. Now that I am 92 years, I want to live, and that is really good for optimism, and I will not give it up. Thank you very much.